Welcome back. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to texture it, customize the stuff to your liking, and then finally render it. So if you use Polygon model that I showed you in the last tutorial, the textures, if you append it, the textures already append with it. So you'll need to apply the textures for that object again. So if you press Z on your keyboard, this menu will show up. So right now we're in solid view mode. If you go wireframe view mode, obviously, material view mode, which can show you the material in real time, and you can see you can check around, and then render view mode, which is it will actually render the viewport for you, and then you can move this around. So right now you can see we're very dark, very noisy, which is because we don't have any light. So I would want to textures the wall, the ceiling, the windows, all that stuff first before I want textures, before I want to render. So I don't want to add any light. So one way we can cheat it right now is if you go right here, up here, let's click this arrow and then uncheck scene light and scene whir right here. So this will use the default HDRI and the default light from the whir to light our scene for now. Denoise your viewport. If you go here, render property, and then denoising, you can check viewport. And then if you're using an NVIDIA graphics card, you can use optics. And then if you're not using an NVIDIA graphics card, you can use OpenMX denoise, which is from Intel. You can use that too, but I'm using an RTX 2060, so I'm gonna use optics. And I would want to set the start sample to match what my viewport is, because I want the denoiser to kick on after the viewport render. So I want to lower the viewport render samples down to 5, and then I'll start denoising after those 5 initial samples. So if I move around, you can see right here, it will say tracing sample, and then 5, and then denoising. And then this would make your viewport a lot easier to view. Or if your computer is slowing down a little bit too much, you can go back to material preview. This will also give you a pretty good preview on what your material is gonna look like. So if you use Polygon model, all the textures are applied. It's all nice and good looking. So now we need to texture the wall itself. Let's say I want a pretty moody room, so I would want to have like a black wall. So if I go texture down here, then wall material right here, if you use the ArchiMesh add-ons, it will already create a material for you. It's a little bit confusing to use that material itself, so I don't necessarily recommend it for you to use it. I usually delete it by hitting this minus right here to delete that material for the wall. Click new, and then double click that wall to name that. Now I want my room to be a little bit dark. So if I click on the base color itself, it will show me the color. So I want to be pretty, like, I want to be a black wall. So we'll drag it down here. Important thing is that you would never want to go to true black. It's just 0, 0, 0. So the reason is that there is nothing in the real life is true black. It's always off black. So you want to base on what's in the real life itself. So if the real life doesn't have true black, you shouldn't use true black. So we want to go around here. So you can see it's not true black. If you want to use white, you would never want to use true white. You want to use off-white. So it's just a little bit like that. But I want to make a pretty moody room, so I put it to there. And then I would want to have this as a matte black. So right here, if you scroll down, you're using a principal BSDF. And then you can see the roughness. So if I lower the roughness down, you can see the room become very shiny. If I increase that, it'll become more rough and less reflective. So I would want to be going around 0.6, and then you can always double click on it to change the value instead of sliding the slider itself. Same thing for the wall, for the ceiling. I'll click on it, delete this material, new, and then it's just renamed ceiling, and then I will want to have that black as well. But for this, I kind of want to have a little bit less dark. So I would want a little bit like a gray tone. It's right there, and then I can just increase the roughness to 0.6. That looks good. And for the baseboard, let's do a white baseboard. So same thing, delete, new, name it baseboard. And then base color would be a little bit off-white. And I want that to be a little bit dark. So there. Let's get to me for the floor itself. I would want to use a wood floor. So same thing, if you go to Polygon again, and then if you go to texture itself, and you can scroll down to free, Polygon have a lot of free material, and it is really good. So let's say I just want to use wood. Let's find wood. So these are the ones we have. So let's find something that looks a little bit dark. Let's say we choose this one. Here you can see the preview of your material. So when you download material from Polygon, or from any other place, you always want to download two versions of it. You always want to download a high resolution one, and a low resolution one. So I usually would go 4K and 1K. The reason for that is to ease on your graphics card. When you have 4K material for everything, your computer will slow down significantly. And when you're doing a wide shot of a room, you don't necessarily see everything. So you don't need 4K texture for everything. You would want to have two variations of it. One is 1K, one is 4K. Don't just download the diffuse or something. Just download everything, and then once download, same thing for that will come as a zip file. You just unzip it and just save it on your texture folder. Polygon has an add-on for Blender to import those materials in. Really nice and simple. So it is Polygon converter for Blender. So same thing, download this thing as a zip. Go in here, go to edit, preferences, go to add-ons, and install add-ons. Direct that to download, and you can see right here Polygon material, and you just install add-ons. And then after you install that add-on, make sure you turn it on by checking this. And then now you have Polygon converter. So something like that. Floor, I want to delete that. New floor material. When I go down here, you can see Polygon material converter. You click on this folder, you can direct the path to where you save the material. So I'll save it here. So these are all the Polygon material that I collect over the year. You don't need to go into the individual folder, just click accept. And here it will load up all your textures for you. If you click this preview thumbnail right here, it will load up a large menu for you to choose from. And this is the one that we download. Choose that, and then load and apply it. And then your materials are already loaded, and all the correct settings is there. So right now you can see the scale is a little bit too big. The wood panel should be around 2x4. So I can go down here, and right here you can see main scale is 1 right now. The bigger the number is, the smaller the material will be. So right now it's 1. If we go to 2, it will become a little bigger and smaller. So if we go 5, then check again. Well, it looks pretty good. I'm gonna add the texture for the windowsill and the door. So same thing, click on this, and just hit new. And then if I want to use the same material for everything, so I can click these again, and then these drop down, and I can choose the same material with the sill right here, so I don't have to recreate that material again and again. And then if you see one object that have two material on the material windows right here, so that object have two material applied to it. So for this window panel, it have a window material itself, and then a glass material itself, which is the glass itself. So you make sure you want to choose the window material itself and then replace it. And then I would say same thing for the door. And then whenever you see this purple, this highlight pink right here, that's mean there is no material applied to it, or the material is corrupt. So make sure you want to add a new material to it. So I would say I want to use this metal, this aluminum. I choose that, load and apply material to that. And now you can see the material is applied on this. But let's say if I want to be gold to be like brass, I can go to shading, door right here, store handle. There's a lot of stuff right now. Don't be intimidated by this. This is really easy. So these are just textures coordinates, just so you can move the textures around. And these are the textures image itself that Polygon import into you. So let's say if I want to choose this to be gold, Shift A, and then search. I can press Suit Saturation Node, move the node on the connection itself. The connection itself will highlight, and if you click on the connection itself, the node is actually connect to where it's supposed to be. So right now, you can change the hue of it to be gold. You can't really see anything because the saturation is too low, and then it will only let you go to 2. But stop at 2 because it's like the recommend where you should stop, but Blender is never lock you into it. So don't let these slider scare you away. So if you want to change this to be a lot more saturation, just click on it, type on it, 100, so you can see a little bit better. So now I can scroll through the hue to look where is the gold. So this looks about good, looks pretty good. And I'll drop the saturation down to 10 now. And now that looks like a brass door handle. And then you go back to your layout tab, and then now you have a brass door handle. And now you're ready to render.